gang violence and other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, at school, in my car, and I can still get shot by the police. But I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.
What's good, Shadow Realm? It's the Black Gen Z Mindset. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe. Let's get into the video.
Justin, more breaking news into the newsroom. Houston police confirming just minutes ago they are questioning someone in connection with the deadly shooting of this 90-year-old Navy veteran in Southwest Houston.
Woo! So you have a 90-year-old veteran shot and killed in an apparent carjacking. This is no bueno. It's horrible. And it's something that we're starting to see more and more often. A lot of these carjackers are completely crashing out, preying on the vulnerable, i.e. a 90-year-old man, and trying to hit a lick or jug. And it's despicable. And this time it ended up taking this man's life. It's ridiculous, man.
Which happened over the weekend. Nelson Beckett was killed in a reported carjacking. Governor Abbott even supporting the manhunt for this killer with part of a $15,000 reward. Again, someone is being questioned in that killing right now, but as of yet, no formal charges have been filed.
This morning, the search continues for the person responsible for killing a 90-year-old veteran over the weekend.
It happened outside the Lone Star Living Assisted Living Complex off Westbury Parkway in Southwest Houston. And that's where we find Ugochi Iloka live this morning. Ugochi, we understand the family is now speaking out about this tragedy.
Yeah, that's right, Rayka and Steph. Now, they didn't talk on camera, but the son and daughter of 90-year-old Nelson Beckett says their father would do anything for anyone before his life was taken just 2 days ago. If you look at your screen, these are pictures they shared of him. Investigators say a neighbor heard the fight between Beckett and the suspect on Saturday outside the Southwest Houston complex. Now, that neighbor says he heard a single gunshot during that argument, followed by the sound of a car leaving the scene just before Saturday afternoon. Now, investigators say the man hit Beckett with the car, which was described as being a white sedan.
Sad, upset, frustrated. I mean, you're attacking elderly people middle of the day.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of these crash outs do, unfortunately. The community has created a whole generation of super gremlins on demon time who believe that this type of activity is justified, retribution for 400 years of slavery, whatever rationale that they make up in their minds. This is what's going on, and it's important to call it out. It's important to have group acknowledgement, group accountability in order to move forward. Otherwise, this situation it's really going to get a lot worse for the community, because we are, we're in uncharted territory where you have a lot of these super gremlins who have completely crashed out and ruined multiple different families' lives.
Yeah, right now, there's no description of the suspect. Houston police say they did find Beckett's vehicle at an apartment complex off of Dunlap. Now, Dunlap Street, about 3 miles away from where he was shot and killed. Now, anyone with additional information is asked to call police right away. We have more on this coming up in the next half hour. Reporting live in Southwest Houston, Ugochi Iloka, KHOU 11 News.
Very sad story there.
646 new this morning. The reward to find a suspected killer tripled overnight, and now Governor Abbott is offering $10,000 to anyone with information about a man police believe murdered 90-year-old Navy veteran Nelson Beckett. Nelson Beckett was killed Saturday during a carjacking in his Southwest Houston neighborhood. Investigators say a man approached him in front of his home, then shot him before taking his car, hitting him with a white sedan as he left. On Monday, HPD found the car less than 3 miles from where the crime scene took place. Now, one of Beckett's neighbors heard the shooting, and he says Beckett was always friendly.
Kind, friendly gentleman, always smiling at everybody. You know, it's a shame what happened. It's a retirement community.
So incredibly sad. Beckett's son spoke with our news partners in Houston over the phone, and he just spoke with him a few days ago, and he says his dad used the car to help others who needed transportation. Texas Crime Stoppers also contributing a $5,000 reward for information. Call the Texas Crime Stoppers hotline. That's 1-800-252-TIPS. That number is right on your screen, or tips can be submitted online through the Texas Department of Public Safety.
Tonight, the murder of a Navy veteran in Southwest Houston has attracted widespread attention. Governor Greg Abbott announcing a new reward to find the killer of 90-year-old Nelson Beckett. Police say a gunman shot him and then ran him over with his own car outside of his retirement community on West Bray near Gessner over the weekend. ABC 13's Jessica Willey spoke with Beckett's son tonight after the governor got involved.
And the fact that they did this outside of a retirement home is, I mean, that just shows the intent of preying on the vulnerable and elderly.
Jessica?
Yeah, Tom, Tim Beckett says it has been a rough day, but the support has been pouring in, and he is thankful. Blown away is how he describes receiving the news that his 90-year-old father had been murdered. Tonight, the governor's office of public safety adding to a $5,000 Crime Stoppers reward, bringing the total reward to $15,000. And this victim's son hopes the killer can be caught. Nelson Beckett leaves a legacy of service to his family, church, and country. The loss, his son says, is unbelievable. Tim Beckett spoke to his father on Thursday. Saturday afternoon, the 90-year-old was murdered, and right outside the retirement complex where he lived. According to Houston police, Beckett was approached by a man outside Lone Star living on West Bray Parkway. There was conversation to start, and then it turned violent. Police say Beckett was beaten, shot, and run over with his own car. He died at the hospital. Officers found his car dumped about 5 miles away. Beckett, a Navy veteran who worked in sales until his retirement, raised his family in Southwest Houston. He was active in his church, a father of 2 who had 5 grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren. His murder getting Governor Greg Abbott's attention, who called it a terrible crime and offered $10,000 more in reward money. His family appreciative of the support, his son describing his father as faith-driven and a good example to him and his sister. Quote, he was always an outgoing person until his very last day. We'll miss him. And that son also remembering the small things like his father grilling shish kebabs and telling jokes. Houston police have released only a vague description of the suspect. We do know that they have surveillance video from the crime, and we are waiting to see if they release an image from that. We have more information about both the state reward and the Crime Stoppers reward on our website at abc13.com.
The state of Texas added a reward for information that leads to the capture of the person wanted for shooting and killing a 90-year-old Navy veteran during a carjacking in Houston. Fox 4's David Santendri in studio with those details. David.
Yeah, Heather, and we just obtained new surveillance footage from one of those crime scenes. Want to let you guys get a look at it. Surveillance footage shows 90-year-old Nelson Beckett's stolen car being driven 11 minutes after he was killed into the apartment complex where it was abandoned. Police arrived 25 minutes later, but
and of course the police are 25 minutes late. Jeez.
They're still searching for that suspect.
Just the nicest guy. He had a sense of humor.
A 90-year-old Navy veteran was murdered in Houston this weekend. Now a $10,000 reward is offered by the state of Texas for information leading to the arrest of the person responsible for the murder. Crime Stoppers of Houston is offering an additional $5,000 reward. The family of Nelson Beckett identifies him as the victim and says he was the kindest, funniest man you'd ever meet. The 90-year-old's death is rattling neighbors.
Sad, upset, frustrated.
I'm shocked and I'm outraged. I think it actually brings a sense of terror.
Houston Police Department says Beckett was sitting in his car at an independent living community Saturday afternoon when an unknown man approached him, assaulted him, and shot him before stealing Beckett's belongings and car. Police later found the car abandoned at a nearby apartment complex.
I heard men arguing. The next thing I know, I heard a gunshot, so I ducked back into my garage and I came out. Told my family to call 911.
Beckett's family says he used his car to drive people without a car to doctor's appointments, stores, and even church on Sundays.
Wow.
He was known to help friends from a halfway house.
So it just sounds like this man was an overall good guy. It's sad to see, you know, that this man was completely caught off guard, taken advantage of, murdered in cold blood. You know, stories like this don't make headway because they're so striking and you know, sobering that you really have to reevaluate what's going on in this country. These super gremlins are on demon time.
Taking them to panhandle or drive them to church. His family says he even baptized several of them. He loved big and loved his family so much. Beckett's daughter, Tammy Freund, told our Houston sister station in a statement.
You're attacking the elderly people, middle of the day, Labor Day weekend. There should be some swift justice on him.
Anyone with a tip can submit it online through the Texas Department of Public Safety. Heather, Steve, back to y'all.
All right, David, thank you.
A 90-year-old Navy veteran killed during a carjacking yesterday, remembered tonight as a thoughtful, church-going man who loved helping others. The family of Nelson Beckett tells us the one-time church elder was heading out to buy groceries when someone pulled up and shot him outside the retirement community on West Bray where he lived. ABC 13's Luke Jones is in Southwest Houston with the latest tonight.
His death was a topic of conversation at Sunday service this morning here at his longtime church. He was just here last Wednesday for a funeral, and now parishioners forced to grieve once again, this time under very different circumstances.
Our dear friend, our beloved brother, Nelson Beckett, died yesterday afternoon.
A somber announcement this morning during service at Southwest Central Church of Christ. Longtime member Nelson Beckett killed yesterday outside his home at the Lone Star Living retirement community. Beaten, shot, and then run over with his own car, dying later that day at the hospital.
Even saying that aloud now is hard to believe and hard to fathom. I've just tried to believe it's not true.
Police spent Saturday reviewing surveillance footage at the retirement home and combing Beckett's car for evidence. But a day later, they still haven't been able to identify a suspect.
What a foolish, brutal act against the mildest of men. An act that makes absolutely no sense.
Beckett's son tells Eyewitness News his father graduated from Abilene Christian University, served in the Navy, and then went on to have a career in sales. He leaves behind 2 children, 5 grandchildren, and 6 great-grandchildren. His son telling us Beckett's death leaves his entire family, quote, very sorrowful.
This is as bad as it gets, that's all I'll say. I'm upset for this man, I'm upset for his family, his friends.
Family and friends, police say, should rest easy, knowing one day justice will be served. In Southwest Houston, Luke Jones, ABC 13, Eyewitness News.
Tonight, a 21-year-old man is now under arrest for the murder of a 90-year-old Navy veteran during a carjacking on Sunday.
Court documents reveal new details in the immediate aftermath of that shooting.
Troy Kless live downtown with those details, and you have reaction from the victim's son tonight. Troy?
Yeah, Len, that's right. Well, here we are expecting in the next 2 hours for the suspect to make an initial appearance in probable cause court. The suspect is here and was arrested on Tuesday and is in the Harris County Jail, which brings some relief to a mourning family.
A son called the death of his father, Nelson Beckett, a 90-year-old Navy veteran, senseless and cruel.
Well, we're glad to hear that he was captured, that the person that was
responsible for this is going to be answering.
On the phone is Tim Beckett, here standing next to his father. He's driving from Fort Worth to Houston for his father's funeral.
Wow.
Beckett was a longtime Southwest.
And imagine living 90 years. 90 years on this planet. And to get X'd out by an FBA crash out. I mean, this is something that is just completely ignored. And we need more awareness, notoriety, so that we can correct this issue.
Houston resident and active member of Southwest Central Church of Christ, he made a life of serving others.
He stayed upbeat. He stayed busy. I mean, he was 90 years old, but he was still driving people around until his night day. So we're proud that he had that kind of heart.
On Saturday, witnesses say Mr. Nelson was making a grocery trip. In court documents, prosecutors say 21-year-old Kyliel Arceneaux pistol whipped the victim and stole his car and threatened 2 witnesses with a gun.
So, Kyliel Arceneaux. Man, I mean, this guy was on a rampage, it looks like. And he's definitely got a weird lazy eye going on. Just completely void of emotion, it appears. These super gremlins are on demon time.
Whipped the victim and stole his car and threatened 2 witnesses with a gun before leaving the scene. Court documents say Arceneaux dumped the victim's car at an apartment complex. He allegedly attempted to clean his fingerprints and throw away his bloody shirt. Meanwhile, Nelson's son, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren are focused on honoring who they say was a kind man.
Well, we're proud of him. We're proud that that he always had a loving heart and served people all the way to the end. That's what he enjoyed doing.
And the suspect is facing 4 charges, including capital murder. Now, he will formally face a judge on Thursday morning, and we're told that family and friends will be observing Nelson Beckett's funeral on Monday. And once we learn any new details about this case, we'll keep you updated. Reporting live in downtown, Troy Kless, KHOU 11 News.
Very quick arrest in this case, just happening on Saturday. Troy Kless, thank you.
Across Texas tonight, police say a military veteran in his 90s is dead after a carjacking. Officers are still looking for the suspect, but they have found a key piece of evidence. It happened yesterday outside an assisted living apartment complex off West Bray Parkway near South Gessner and West Belfort. Troy Kless spoke with a witness after he watched the tragedy unfold.
Sad, upset, frustrated. I mean, you're attacking elderly people, middle of the day.
Rod Boson lives right next to the Lone Star Living Complex off of West Bray Parkway. He was in his backyard the moment the fatal confrontation happened.
I heard the argument, the commotion. I could kind of see through the picket fence, but I just saw bodies moving. I couldn't make out any description, you know. I couldn't see any faces or anything. I heard arguing, men arguing. The next thing I know, I heard a gunshot, so I ducked back into my garage.
Houston police say the victim, a man in his 90s, was carjacked around 12:45 p.m. Saturday. A grocery cart, one of the pieces of evidence at the scene.
He had his little shopping cart, and a scuffle ensued. They say he put up a good fight.
Officers say the suspect stole the victim's car, a white sedan, and ran over the victim while leaving the scene. Boson might have seen the suspect drive away.
Because when I saw the car, I didn't know to be looking inside the car. I just saw the car pull up, the gate didn't open, he hurried up and went the other way.
Houston police say they found the victim's vehicle dropped off at an apartment complex off of Dunlap Street, about 3 miles away from where the victim was shot and killed. At the first scene, Boson says he overheard residents and the apartment's maintenance crew mourning the man's loss.
World War II veteran, kind, friendly gentleman, always smiling at everybody. You know, it's a shame what happened. It's a retirement community. You know, it's a shame that they look at them as easy targets.
What's good, Shadow Realm? It's your boy Jenquavius Jackson, and y'all already know I'm demonetized and shadow banned in this bitch. So if you want to contribute, go to the Cash App, the PayPal, the GoFundMe, or join the Patreon. Also, don't forget to visit the merch store for all your favorite BGZM News 17 gear, including our exclusive Trump is a Blood t-shirt. Go fast before they sell out. They are already flying off the shelves, no cap. And remember, these super gremlins are on demon time.
And right now there is a search for the man who killed a 90-year-old veteran.
And the reward for information leading to an arrest has now tripled. Family members and friends hope it'll convince someone to talk.
Maria Aguilera joins us live this evening near downtown Houston with the latest in this tragic story. Maria.
Lenmia, this tragic death has moved so many people across the Houston area, now nationwide too. At this time, there is not much information on the suspect. However, the family of the veteran who was killed and the victim advocate I spoke with hope somebody, anyone, will come forward with information.
The search is on for a killer accused of taking the life of a 90-year-old Navy veteran. His death striking a nerve.
Cases like this have a tendency to galvanize the entire city, the entire county, the entire state.
Nelson Beckett was killed during a carjacking in southwest Houston. Investigators said the man who shot Beckett also hit him with a car described as a white sedan.
At the age of 90, he was contributing to the community and trying to help people in the best way you possibly can, and to have your life end in this fashion, not on our watch.
Andy Kahn with Crime Stoppers says they put in $5,000. Governor Abbott announced an additional $10,000 today. Kahn says in cases like this with limited details on the suspect, a reward can make all the difference, especially because he says someone has to know who did this.
Hopefully now they'll have the courage and the fortitude to step up to the plate, now knowing that there's a reward up to $15,000.
HPD found the car at an apartment complex on Dunlap Street, less than 3 miles from the crime scene.
We're just overcome by sorrow.
His son over the phone said he just spoke with him a few days ago. He says the car, which his dad tragically lost his life over, was used to help others who needed transportation.
And that's wild, man. I can't imagine losing your father after so much time and him still alive and well. And, man, he's over here doing the work of the Lord, and for some thugged out, thug maxed alpha simp to pull up and rob him, and then rob him of his life is it's tragic.
He was 90 years old, but he was still driving. So he was driving people to doctor's appointments, to FEMA, to rehab, to stores, etc.
A long life taken in such a cold way.
If he had died in his sleep, he would have lived a full life. But it's just senseless and cruel for someone to do that.
Victim advocates urging people to do what's right. Speak up.
He deserves better. His family deserves answers, and we're going to get them for him.
We're told Mr. Beckett leaves behind 2 children, 5 grandkids, 6 great-grandkids, and 1 on the way. If you have any information, you're asked to contact Crime Stoppers. There is a reward of up to $15,000. You can report anonymously at 713-222-TIPS. Live in downtown Houston, Maria Aguilera, KHOU 11 News.
Maria, thanks for the update. And online right now, more reaction to the murder of Nelson Beckett and the search for the suspect. See it all on KHOU.com.
A Southwest Houston community mourning the loss of a 90-year-old Navy veteran murdered over the weekend during a carjacking. Houston police looking for the killer. Ugochi Iloka stopped by the beloved veteran's old neighborhood where he'd lived for decades.
Neighbors say 90-year-old Nelson Beckett was the very first person to buy a house on this block about 40 years ago. Now, he sold it about 2 years ago and moved 9 blocks away from here to a living facility complex where his life was taken just 2 days ago.
My daughters and I went to celebrate his 90th birthday party with his family at the living facility where everything happened.
Miss Robin Patterson says she and her husband, Ronald Patterson, were neighbors to Mr. Nelson for 17 years.
To be the age that he was, the things that he would do, especially cutting his own yard.
He would cut his yard every week.
So when the Pattersons heard Saturday an elderly man was shot and killed during an argument outside Lone Star Living Independent Retirement Community where Mr. Nelson lived, they checked in with him.
So I text and I was like, hey, Mr. Nelson, I heard something happened at your facility. Are you okay? But I never received a text back.
Sadly, investigators say a man who shot Mr. Nelson outside also hit him with the car, which was described as being a white sedan. HPD says the 90-year-old veteran's car was found at an apartment complex on Dunlap Street, less than 3 miles from where the facility is. The Pattersons say he didn't deserve this and that he was so kind to others, including them. They hope anyone with information contacts police.
He'd help a lot of people around here. Like, a lot of times people may need a ride or something to the store. He'd be there and help you.
He looked out for our home when we were going on vacation.
Yeah, we go on vacation. Yeah, he did.
He stepped up when my mom passed, my brother passed. He was always there.
Mr. Nelson's son and daughter shared this statement about their dad. They wrote saying, quote, "He was the kindest, funniest man you'd ever meet. He was interested in helping those less fortunate than himself. He had been very active in his church for decades," end quote. Ugochi Iloka, KHOU 11 News.
Tonight, the family of a Navy veteran killed this weekend is hoping for justice.
Yeah, Houston police are searching for the man who shot 90-year-old Nelson Beckett in a carjacking at a senior living complex. His family speaking only.
Yep, you better believe it. And he said that like he was shocked or confused, but he does these types of stories every day. So maybe that was for dramatic effect, but this is the norm now. These super gremlins are on demon time.
Only with our Troy Kless this evening. Troy, what are they telling you?
Well, Len, Mia, they tell me that he has lived here in the Southwest Houston area since at least the 1970s, but he moved to this apartment complex about 2 years ago, and this is where it happened on Saturday. Near that carport that you see past this fence is where Houston police were investigating the shooting. Now, his son told me on the phone earlier today that Nelson lived a life of serving others and called it a senseless death. To his family, Nelson Beckett set an example of service.
He was active in his church. He loved Jesus. He served his country in the Navy. He loved to sing.
On the phone is Nelson's son, Tim. Nelson and his family lived in this Southwest Houston neighborhood. Beyond these streets, he continued to help others.
He would even drive some friends from a halfway house to Panhandle and take them to church on Sundays, and even baptize some of them. And he would do anything for them.
Longtime neighbors Ronald and Robin Patterson say they kept in touch with Nelson even after he moved 2 years ago.
My daughters and I went and celebrated his 90th birthday party with his family at the living facility where everything happened.
This happened at the Lone Star Living Complex on West Bray Parkway. On Saturday afternoon, witnesses say Nelson was getting groceries when an unknown suspect shot him and stole his car, hitting him as he left the scene. When the Pattersons heard the victim was a 90-year-old veteran, they knew something was wrong.
So I text and I was like, hey, Mr. Nelson, I heard something happened at your facility. Are you okay? But I never received a text back.
Nelson's car was recovered at another apartment complex less than 3 miles away. Now police are searching for the suspect, while family says it's unbelievable their dad is no longer here.
It's just senseless and cruel for someone to do that to someone, a 90-year-old man who never heard of a flea in his life.
And Houston police need your help finding the suspect in this shooting. And this afternoon, Governor Greg Abbott's office announced that the state of Texas is posting a $10,000 reward for information that might lead to an arrest. And Crime Stoppers of Houston is offering their own $5,000 reward for information. And again, if you know anything, you're asked to contact police. Reporting live in Southwest Houston, Troy Kless, KHOU 11 News.
Certainly our feelings and our thoughts go out to the family and that community. Troy, thank you. Of course, we'll closely follow these developments on this story as the search for the killer continues. Hopefully the money being offered will lead to an arrest. Find out more information on our website at khou.com.
He was just a good, faithful Christian man. He loved Jesus. He loved his church.
Loved ones mourn the loss of a beloved great-grandfather, neighbor, and friend. Their hearts broken today after 90-year-old Nelson Beckett's life was taken in a violent carjacking. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Bill Barajas. Police say Nelson Beckett was shot and killed yesterday at the Lone Star Senior Living Apartments in Southwest Houston. The shooter, who has not been named, is still on the run. Crime Stoppers offering up to $5,000 for information leading to an arrest. Today, KPRC2's Corley Peel spoke to Mr. Beckett's family and church about how they wanted him to be remembered.
I spoke with Nelson Beckett's daughter. She says her father was the kindest and funniest man you'd ever meet. This apartment complex where he was killed is where he lived, but where he also cared for many people. Sunday service at Southwest Central Church of Christ, off to a somber start.
Our dear friend, our beloved brother, Nelson Beckett, died yesterday afternoon, killed by a person hijacking Nelson's car. Even saying that aloud now is hard to believe and hard to fathom.
In the congregation, Beckett's friend of 47 years, Steve Sandifer. I spoke with him on the phone.
I told his daughter, I said, you know, had she called me that morning and said, Dad didn't wake up this morning, I would have said, good, he's lived his 90 years, he's been a champion of faith and everything else. He's lived a great life. But to hear that he had been murdered, that was just beyond me.
The deadly carjacking happening right outside Beckett's apartment building. His car found 10 minutes away at a different apartment complex.
It was total shock. I'd seen him on Wednesday. He was 90, but he was very mobile.
Sandifer says the Navy veteran was a natural caretaker, driving neighbors to doctor appointments, picking people up from halfway houses to take them to church. Do you have a favorite memory with Nelson, something that sticks out to you over the past 47 years that y'all have had together?
Laughing. Eating and laughing. Nelson was a comedian of sorts. He always had a funny story. And so when he started talking about, well, there was this man, you knew it was a story, not a true thing. And you'd get around to the point eventually. But he was a very loving man, a very caring man. He was just a good, faithful Christian man. He loved Jesus. He loved his church.
The shooter on the run, but Sandifer is confident whoever killed his one-of-a-kind friend will be caught. Police have not released a detailed description of the man accused of killing Beckett, but he is believed to be armed and dangerous. Those with any information are asked to contact the Houston Police Department. Corley Peel, KPRC 2 News.
Gang violence and other kind of violence.
Are you in school?